Under the hood of the crossover you can find modern supercharged engines. All Capturs are equipped with an ECO function that reduces power and fuel consumption. The line of power units opens with a 0.9-liter 3-cylinder turbo engine of the H4BT series. It has distributed injection. Almost half of the Capturs sold in Europe are equipped with this engine. Is the small 3-cylinder engine worthy of recommendation? It is, of course, not a dream machine, but it carries surprisingly well in urban conditions. However, you shouldn't rely on it too much on country highways, especially where you have to overtake trucks. If the Captur with 0.9 TCe still somehow accelerates to 100 km per hour, a little over 13 seconds, then after that it becomes sluggish. Average fuel consumption is 6.2 L/100 km, which is noticeably higher than the promised 4.9 L, but still acceptable. The disadvantage of 0.9 TCe is coolant leaks due to the plastic thermostat housing. Ignoring the problem can lead to overheating and serious engine repairs. Much nicer and more dynamic is the 4-cylinder 1.2 TCe engine of the H5 series. True, it has a potential risk of increasing oil consumption due to its characteristic feature, slow warming up. The problem is not widespread, but it does occur. The illness was contributed to by numerous trips over short distances with a cold engine. Dealerships usually resorted to updating the engine management program. If this did not help, the engine was sent for repairs, usually replacing the rings was enough. I have good news for you. Now, if you are planning to buy a used car, or learn more about your car, you no longer need to search for the information you need on the internet. We have collected everything in one place for you, on the website carme.pro. Here you can find out everything about the car, what breaks and at what mileage, any problems with engines, chassis or gearboxes, which trim levels are better not to mess with and how not to lose money buying a used car. You will learn all this on carme.pro. Direct fuel injection raises the question of the economic feasibility of installing gas equipment. The gas distribution mechanism of 0.9 and 1.2 TCe is driven by a chain. Both have variable valve timing, the same 72.2 mm bore and 73.1 mm stroke. In 2018, the 1.3 TCe H5H series debuted, developing 150 horsepower. This engine eliminates the main disadvantage of the 1.2 TCe, in particular due to a new cylinder head with cooled exhaust ducts. This made it possible to accelerate warming up to operating temperature, and thereby prevent dangerous dilution of the oil with unburned gasoline. On the used car market you can still find the 1.5 DC engine of the K9K series with a power of 90 and 110 horsepower. Even in the 90 horsepower version, the 1.5 DC engine provides better dynamics than the 0.9 TCe. Average diesel fuel consumption is 5.1 L/100 km, slightly higher than stated by Renault. All Renault models of recent years equipped with 1.5 DCi are practically trouble-free. The only minor problems are thermostat leaks and a clogged DPF. The turbo diesel was covered by a service promotion. Due to an error in computer calibration, excessive accumulation of sulfur oxides in the catalytic converter could occur, which leads to disruption of the exhaust gas aftertreatment process and increases emissions of nitrogen oxides. The transmission includes a 5 or 6-speed manual gearbox. The 5-speed JR5 was paired with a 0.9 TCe and a 90 horsepower 1.5 DCi. The 6-speed TL4 was used by the rest of the engines. A number of cars, except 0.9 TCe, are equipped with an EDC dual-clutch gearbox, DC4, from Getrag, 6DCT250. It works well, but can cause problems similar to Volkswagen DSG gearboxes, where on the clutch and dual-mass flywheel. What's remarkable is that the DC4 is completely electrically driven, so there are no vulnerable mechatronics. All Capturs are front-wheel drive. The chassis provides a relatively high level of comfort, and the brakes are effective. However, the steering lacks precision. There are triangular wishbones at the front, and a classic elastic beam at the rear. The suspension parts are not very durable, but due to their interchangeability with other Renault models, they are easily available and relatively cheap. For example, the front wishbones fit from the Megane 2 and Renault Scenic 2 models. Ball joints of transverse arms and stabilizer struts must be changed after 70 to 80,000 kilometers. A number of cars assembled after November 7, 2014 were subject to a service promotion due to chafing of the front wheel brake hose on the edge of the wheel arch. We haven't heard anything about body corrosion yet. Visible rust is a sign of damage and subsequent repairs in the past. Sometimes there are problems with the paintwork. Sometimes there are complaints about creaking interior parts. There are also malfunctions of electrical equipment. For example, the clock goes off and the radiator fan vibrates. Fortunately, these are not very common problems and are not difficult to fix. The electrical system is not very complex. Renault Captur is a good option for a family that mainly moves around the city. The body capacity will be sufficient for trips to the country. Operating a crossover rarely requires much expense, thanks to reasonable fuel consumption and good durability.